So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we've got a great guest. This guest has been in near enough everything out there, from Batwoman, Snowpiercer, Game Over Man on Netflix, Altered Carbon, Coffin Kareem on Netflix, and most recently, The Astronauts, which is on Nickelodeon. It's, of course, Garfield Wilson. Welcome to the show and Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you too. Happy to be here.
And how is everything your end during this pandemic?
It is a little stressful. I mean, I think there's a large number of the population that are happy that the vaccines are being doled out. We have had a lot of new restrictions regarding what we can and can't do. In terms of like going to the gym, masks are now mandatory, which is great. So I think all in all, we're doing okay. But I will be happy once this pandemic is over. Let me tell you.
I think we all will be. And what's the arrangements this Christmas in Canada, where you are now? Because in the UK, literally for 5 days, they're letting the whole of the UK get together, which I think is kind of crazy.
They're doing what?
So basically, for 5 days, they're basically scrapping all the rules, and they're saying that 3 families can basically visit each other, stay over at each other's houses, and celebrate Christmas.
That makes no sense to me.
You know what? Exactly. Since March, we have been tied down in a lockdown. We've been trying to prevent deaths and people catching it and passing it on. But yet they just decided at Christmas you know what? I can understand partly it's down to, the mental health and obviously the year has been bad, but it's literally like stopping your antibiotics early because you're feeling a bit better. It's like you just don't do it. You need to run the course.
That's a very good analogy. I mean, that is, I couldn't have said it better. I know that in Canada, there are a lot of families, my family included, that are doing what they can to sort of make the sacrifice during the Christmas holidays and not see each other. My parents, who live in Edmonton, I'm in Vancouver on the West Coast. They're in another province over. And my brother lives there with his wife. They won't be seeing my brother. They usually get together for Christmas dinner and gift sharing and the whole thing. My mom and dad are hunkering down, and my mom is making my dad take over all the big goods, drop it off at the door, and drive away. That's the extent of the human interaction regarding my immediate family in Edmonton. And then for us, I mean, my ex-wife and I, we've actually kept our bubble really, really small with her partner and my girlfriend, and or her fiance rather, my girlfriend, and their kids as well. We just kept it very, very small so that we're safe. We're not going to visit any families down in Seattle or in the interior of BC. We're just kind of keeping it really, really small, as we have been for months now.
Yeah, that's good. You've got to keep yourself safe, and you've got to keep all the loved ones safe and protected. I mean, I'm a father of 3, and I've got to say, the stress and the pressure in the past year to keep them safe and to make sure, they don't catch the virus is so stressful. So, it's great news about the vaccine. The vaccine has started to come out in the UK. So fingers crossed, everyone will get that vaccine very soon, and we can get back to normal and get back to conventions, and people can go back to production in full swing, because it's got to be quite hard at the moment. I mean, how is work at the moment in the way of the TV and film industry compared to before March?
Well, it was a really touch and go there for a while. I mean, March, April, May, June, July was who knows what's happening. I think towards the end of July, productions started to come back. And we started getting an influx of auditions. And the audition process was a lot different. Now it's 100% self-taping in your home and setting your home studio up in that regard to submit your audition tapes. I've been very fortunate to get back to set to finish up the series The Astronauts. And then I was involved in a couple of other productions. And my son, who's my middle child, has been on 2 productions as well. And what I can tell you is that they've got it down to a well-oiled machine now. Winning protocols, having the yellow and red zones so that they can minimize the amount of crew members being in one spot at the same time, and then also protecting the cast members at the same time as well. The PPE has been very, very good. And they've got their COVID police or their COVID officials on set just to make sure everything is dialed in. It varies in degree in terms of how productions are handling their protocols, but it's pretty much the same. And I can tell you, I feel really safe on set. I mean, we get tested 2 to 3 times a week, and everyone that works on a production doesn't want to be the one that has put themselves at risk and put the production at risk in terms of contracting COVID-19. So when I get a gig, or if I'm on a gig, and if I'm not on a gig, but especially when I'm booked on a gig, I keep my bubble extremely, extremely tight. I go shopping once a week to get my groceries and load up, and I keep it pretty boring. You know what I mean? I don't go to any restaurants. I go to the movie theaters, and I just make sure that I can continue working, because being unemployed as an actor and not knowing when the next production is going to come down the pike is very disconcerting.
But Garfield, you're a man of many talents. Not only are you an actor, singer, fitness trainer, champion bodybuilder, and you're a dad. I mean, is there anything that you cannot do, Garfield?
I struggle to do a proper pirouette. I really struggle with that.
But I'm sure if you put your mind to it, I'm sure that you could pull it off.
Well, that being said, I was on a production of Dreamgirls at the Stanley Theatre here in Vancouver. And I was part of the dance ensemble there. And I'm not a trained dancer. And I'm surrounded by these dancers that have been doing it all their lives. And I can tell you that I speak in the language of 1, 2, 3, 4. I do not speak in the language of 5, 6, 7, 8. So that was one of the toughest gigs I have ever had in my life. And I did fake the pirouette because I did have to do 5 in a row. That's a difficult. I tip my hat to all the amazing dancers that I've ever worked with or ever saw on stage.
But I'm sure you still keep yourself busy with all those hats that you're wearing, being an actor and a singer. And talking about singing, there was a lovely video on Instagram of you singing "Imagine," which is absolutely awesome. Which I think should be this year's anthem. You know what? It's a fantastic video. So, is there any more like videos like that planned on Instagram and your social media popping up?
Yes, there is. I've got a buddy of mine. His name is AJ DeVera, and our drummer Brian, and we've done a Christmas sort of like medley with 2 songs. We've done "Carol the Bells" and "Christmas, Baby Please Come Home." And my son, Jude Wilson, is going to be editing that tomorrow night. And I'm hoping to drop that video either Thursday or Friday this week. And, all the videos that some artists were doing during the lockdown, and they were doing videos via Zoom, and they were doing those split screens. If you go to my Instagram, we did a version of Fix You. And we're going to do the same type of thing. And my son edited that video as well, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out.
Oh, did he? Because that was an awesome song. That was absolutely awesome. I really like that one. That was the one where it was split with someone playing the guitar, and And
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
so much. That was a lot of fun. Thank you. We had some really positive feedback on that. You just never know how people are going to react, especially when you're doing cover tunes. I mean, Coldplay is such an awesome band, and Chris Martin's a brilliant writer, and that song is so emotional. And
oh yeah,
I thought that it was really appropriate for the collective emotion of our community at the time to drop that.
definitely. So, Garfield, you were born in England, which I didn't realise. And when I was reading up about you, you was born in Surrey, in England, which is right near Kent. And at the age of 6, you escaped. You left for Canada. How dare you? Surrey or Canada? Let me think. Surrey is nice. I mean, I lived in Kent for over 10 years, and now I live in Mansfield, which is Robin Hood country, which is near Nottingham.
Yeah.
But yeah, how was that journey for you? I mean, at the age of 6, going from Surrey to Canada, what an adventure that must have been.
Well, let me just say, first of all, whenever I hear a British accent, I get homesick. Still today. So listening to you talk warms my heart. Reminds me of my aunties and my cousins, and I can't wait to get back with my kids and have them soak up the culture there. But leaving England at 6 years old was a splash of cold water on the face. Literally, we landed in Thompson, Manitoba in the dead of winter. And my parents describe us walking through the blistering cold and snow hitting our face, just weeping, because we've never felt that kind of cold before. And just navigating school at that time. I mean, when you have a British accent and you're small and you're 6 years old and all the other kids have Canadian accents, you really stick out. So we worked hard for a year to try to lose our accent and to try to coin phrases that made us sound Canadian. It took a little while, but it was a really good transition to go from Thompson, Manitoba to Edmonton, and then ultimately to Vancouver, which is where I call home.
Excellent. And I've got to say, there's a picture also on your social media, and I've got to mention it. If anyone gets a chance to go on your Instagram, go on it. Because I think it was in Instagram, there was a picture of you in high school and with a wonderful hairdo. It is amazing,
Which hairdo? Because there's a couple. Are we talking about the Jerry curl?
Yeah. It was definitely curly. It reminded me a bit of, if you watch Coming to America, the guy and he's really looking after his hair. That sort of hair, and I'm very proud of you. That must have taken ages to maintain. So kudos to you.
I got to tell you that I never felt freedom like I felt when I started losing my hair, and I didn't have to maintain my hair anymore, because my brother and I were probably the last brothers in Edmonton hanging on to the Jerry curl. When everyone else cut theirs, we were still like ruining our collars and messing up my mom's couch. Like, yeah.
You were making it work, obviously. So growing up in Canada, there is a lot of amazing Canadian actors. And for some reason on my show, I'm attracting all Canadian actors, from Alex Ponovic, who you know, which I've seen plenty of pictures of you and Alex, Kim Coates and people like that. I mean, is the culture in Canada well catered for anyone that's wanting to get into acting?
It's funny that you mentioned it, because he's one of my dear friends, and he's somebody that I really admire in terms of his career trajectory and how he occupies space and how he is on set and how he is just as a really genuinely wonderful human being. I love him to death and love him dearly. And regarding acting in Canada, I think that, now more than ever, that hidden jewel of talent that is in Canada is becoming more and more well known, because the level of talent and that I've worked with comes directly from Toronto or the prairies or here in Vancouver. Phenomenal. And I really carved out my niche or paid my dues with a wonderful acting coach. Her name is Deb Podolsky here in Vancouver, and she runs her acting school called Deb Podolsky Acting. And there are so many wonderful, successful young actors from that class. And I just remember over the last 6 or 7 years being in that class and literally crying or laughing and just feeling like I'm a fly on the wall. Just seeing some brilliant performances from the students in her class who have, some of them become some of my best friends. So the acting pool talent in Canada is diverse and it is intense. I can tell you that.
I bet. And music for you was obviously a passion because you've done a lot with singing. I mean, I'm reading here you've sung back in for a Canadian rock and blues singer and toured with him as well. I think I haven't got his names down. Is it James Colin?
Colin James.
Colin James. It was the right way round. It was just the wrong way. Yeah. But yeah, so you've also been a lead singer for a cover band called Ramses Soul Revival. Is that right?
Yes, that was back in the late 90s. Yeah, mid to late 90s. That was when I still had hair.
So what made you move from music into acting then? Because music's got to you toured Canada. It must have been amazing for you.
It was, I got to tell you, touring Canada with Colin James, who I used to work at a record store. Colin James first dropped his debut album. That was a huge monster hit in Canada. And he had this single, Why'd You Lie, that broke out into the US, and he was doing talk shows, and he was really hitting it on all fronts. And to tour with him was like a dream come true as far as touring with somebody that was amazingly talented and such a wonderful human being. And that was an amazing experience. And then, I always wanted to be a singer and dancer. Like I grew up listening to Motown, reggae, Bob Marley, all of those musical giants. And I actually thought I was going to be the next Michael Jackson when I was 5 years old. So it's been a part of my life for a very, very long time. And I moved to Vancouver specifically for music. And I moved with a bunch of musicians that were really good friends of mine, and it just didn't work out. The lifespan I heard later on of any band is like 3 years at max. Like unless you really have something like the Rolling Stones or Coldplay, where you can go off and do other things and come back and still be a band, or U2. Which is a band I thoroughly love. But we imploded. It didn't work out for us. I mean, all the stars have to align for you to be successful in the music industry or any of the arts for that matter. And we had talent. We had some pretty good songs, but for whatever reason, the timing didn't work, and we didn't hit it, or somebody just didn't say yes. And I just kept music in my life. And the transition from music to acting was literally a high school friend of mine who I was rooming with here in Vancouver that said, you could get work on Vancouver productions, because a lot of those productions come from the U.S. And to make those productions authentic, they definitely need diversity. And you could fit that mold. And I was, I played Judas in Jesus Christ Superstar. I was in Hair the following year, and I was really a movie buff. So I thought, hey, I'll look in the classifieds. I'll see if there's an agent that I could possibly sign up with. And long story short, an agent signed me up and put me in acting classes to get my own camera stuff. And the rest is kind of history. It just worked out really well. Not to say it's been a smooth ride. Let me just say that this has been a journey and a half. Let me tell you.
Well, I can imagine. I mean, it's not going to be easy. I mean, they always say the road is paved with gold, and you'll get your big break. But it's a lot of hard work, I can imagine. And a lot of guests that I've had on, that is in your line of work. They've said it's been hard, but do you know what? If you put the work in and you keep going forwards, you never know down the line. But I'm glad that Hollywood and TV and film is definitely changing in the way of diversity and inclusion. Hollywood is changing, and I'm glad of that. It's about time. It really is.
Well, if you look at the world and if you go like here in Vancouver and abroad, if you go out to a grocery stop, if you go to the movie theaters, if you go to festivals, if you go to conventions, the population is so diverse from so many different backgrounds and biracial families, and it's just so rich. And it's really wonderful to see that depicted in film and television now. I was just speaking to my son, him and I we just geek out in terms of film and television, and we're really into the superhero genres like the Marvel universe, and then just seeing those stories come to life, particularly when they are well done, like the Joker and Chris Nolan's Batman, Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, obviously, and then the new Batman with Robert Pattinson that's coming out. And we talked about that, and it's funny you should mention diversity, because we were talking about the fact that Commissioner Gordon is going to be played by Jeffrey Wright, and that Catwoman is Zoe Kravitz, which I think is perfect casting, because I'm a huge fan of those two actors, and they bring so much to their performances all the time. And for Hollywood to land that story that is rich with characters and make it relevant and show what the world is today is a step in the very, very good direction.
Yeah, and funny you say that, as well as Batwoman. They've got a brand new Batwoman, and she looks amazing, and I cannot wait. And you starred in Batwoman, of course. Season 1. So what was it like working on a DC show? How fun was that?
That was so much fun. I mean, I did. They really put a lot of work and time and thought into their stunts, and the industry is driven by that in some respects. But the character was so rich. I'm hoping that they bring that character back, because they gave me so much information about where that character comes from and what his history is, and how he comes in and out of these cities, and is just a hired gun. And that experience working with wiring and working with the stunt coordinators and working with Ruby Rose and the other actors was really, really phenomenal. And I got to tell you, when I was sitting in the cast chair and we're just waiting for our scene, and I'm sitting there with Ruby Rose, and she's got her Batwoman costume on, I was like, this is dope. This is really dope.
Please tell me you got a picture.
I did get a picture, and it is, and it's funny because I got to tip my hat to wardrobe, because when you see it in real life, it looks amazing, but you just take a little picture on your iPhone, and it just pops all the textures, all the colors, and the lighting. Those costumes are meant to be put in pictures and meant to be filmed, because once you get the lighting on them, it's just brilliant. It looks amazing.
And then, of course, not only did you star in Batwoman, but you starred in Arrow as well. So you're doing a bit of a tour of the DC shows, which is quite cool, because you was part of Slade Wilson's army in Arrow.
That was awesome. That was a great experience. That was about 3 or 4 days, and just being on the sound stage and again working with those actors and being at the table read and seeing those amazingly talented actors in the flesh, and then working with them. And it's a team effort to be on those shows. It really shows you not just one person, although one or two or maybe a handful of people really shine in those productions, but you can really see the hard work that comes from the ground up, from set design to locations to director of photography to the wardrobe. I mean, so many elements are involved to make those shows great, and it's nice to be able to be involved in that.
Yeah. So when obviously you're working on these DC shows, I mean, the community of actors, are they quite close? Because they tend to literally all know each other and all work with each other in some way or form.
Yeah. I mean, well, when you're on a series, when you get a recurring role, or if you're a series regular, um, I think it's very much aligned with being in a theater production. Like if you're on stage, you
Mm.
just become a family. I remember doing Dreamgirls um, at the Stanley Theater, and it was 3 months of like 12, 14-hour days with these people for 3 months, and you just get to know them so intimately. And with these shows, on these DC shows, these characters have a journey, have an arc, and you get to spend a lot of time with these actors, and you get this chemistry happening, and it's wonderful. It reminds me of working on the astronauts. I mean, we were done 4 episodes before we were shut down because of COVID. And then by the time we still kept on a WhatsApp chat or a text message chat throughout that quarantine and throughout that lockdown, and when we didn't know when we were going back to set, and were just communicating and just sending funny memes and helping each other out and just being in contact. By the time we got to set, it just felt like you were, and not only was it great to get back to set and get human interaction, but we had this chemistry from that relationship that grew, and it was amazing.
So let's talk about the astronauts, because this is a show on Nickelodeon, and from what I can see, it's not a standard sort of kid show. It seems the budget seems a lot more, and it looks exciting. I tried to get my 7-year-old girl to watch it, and she's a bit of a scaredy cat, to be honest. Unless it's cartoon, she doesn't want to watch it. And I'm like, no, you need to watch it because I'm interviewing Garfield, that man there. But unfortunately, she won't watch it. But if you could explain what the show is about and who you play in that show.
Yeah, that's, I'm really proud to be a part of that show. Nickelodeon really wanted to use this show and other shows like it to rebrand themselves so that they're not seen as just a kids program network. And they partnered with Ron Howard's Imagine Entertainment. He was executive producer. He had a hands-on approach to how we approached the script, and the set designs they spared no expense. And they really put together a wonderful, wonderful cast. So I play a widower named Niles Taylor. I have 2 children. I'm a computer engineer, and work for this company called Helios. And it's a state-of-the-art company. We have an AI named Matilda. And Matilda is like Siri. She's involved in every aspect. She runs your car. She clap on, clap off with your phone and your music and everything. But she's also running this ship that we have designed to go on this mission for over a year, to go out in space, check out this anomaly in space, and then come back to see if it's alien, if it's something that we can study. And these 5 kids, 2 of them which are my own, sneak onto the shuttle. Matilda loves that they're on the shuttle and locks it down, starts a countdown, and sends them off into space. And basically the story is a coming of age of these children while the grown-ups are down on Earth, freaking out, trying to get these kids back home safely.
That you know what? That sounds awesome. It doesn't even sound like a kid's show. It could, I think all ages can watch it.
Yeah. I really love the fact that it reminds me of like watching a Spielberg movie like E.T. or Ready Player One. Just a lot of adventure. And the kids that are on the show that are playing these characters are wonderful, wonderful actors. The scripts, the writing is amazing, and they really want to land it in truth, to make it feel like this could really happen. And they spared no expense as far as the special effects and the details of what it would be like to be in space, and what you would need to do to actually navigate being on a ship, and all the things that could go wrong for these kids. And it's the stakes are really high. I mean, like, there are a lot of life and death situations during the episodes. And I remember my girlfriend's son, who's 9, who she told me he was watching the first couple of episodes and he couldn't sit still. He's standing on the couch. He's walking around because like, so it's a wonderful, wonderful journey. You know, we've had nothing but wonderful reviews from young and old.
That is awesome. And when you're on set and you're looking at these kids that you're acting opposite, does it make you more of a pushy dad towards Jude? Because how old is Jude? Is he quite young or?
No, my kids. I've got 3 children, and I've got a 17-year-old daughter. Jude is 15, and then my youngest daughter is 12. And because I know, and because not only that do I know the industry, but you know, we've gone through our own journeys with our children as far as what they're into creatively and what they're not into. And this industry can really prey on your insecurities, your self-confidence, and your self-esteem. And so what I try to do with Jude, and what I think we've been really successful at, is landing it with authenticity when he's doing his gigs, but not taking himself too seriously or taking the industry too seriously. And as long as he's having a good time with it and he understands that this is just a creative process, it doesn't weigh in on what his self-worth is and what it means to get a gig or what to not get a gig, then I think that we're doing a really, really good job. The kids that are on the show for the astronauts are really, really wonderful kids. And I tip my hat to their parents for creating such grounded individuals that are really at the top of their game, because I believe everything that they're doing on screen. The wonderful thing about the series or the unfortunate thing is that we never really got to work together because they're up in space. So their days on set were separate from ours.
Right.
And, you know, and just seeing the finished product. And the only time we ever get to see them was during the table reads when we ran the episode from front to back with the director and the producers and just kind of, you know, got a vibe for the episode. But seeing the finished product on television, I'm super blown away by these kids. They're amazing.
And do we know if there's going to be a second season, or are you making any more? Do you know? Or can you not say?
I would be shocked if there's not a second season. There's so much.
Awesome.
There's so much more that we could talk about. There's so much more that leaves you hanging and leaves a lot of questions unanswered by the end of this first season. So I'm very hopeful. I'm not going to say it's a guarantee, but when I know, you will know, and everyone will know.
So Garfield, you've been in so many things. Looking at your IMDb, it's just incredible. You know, what has been your favourite show or film to be on, or is that like asking which child is your favourite? I mean, which?
It's really close. What you just asked me is really close. I will tell you this. I've had really good fortune working on some amazing projects and working with some amazingly talented actors and directors. I will tell you that I had a paradigm shift working with Elijah Wood and director Ant Timpson and writer Toby Harvard on Come to Daddy. That was a very, very small on Tofino here in Canada. And that character was an evolution that I just created on my own, and working with Elijah Wood, and you know, my kids and my ex-wife and I, we watched The Lord of the Rings front to back, you know, just devouring that world and really going for a ride in that journey, and to work with him and to discover that he is such an amazing human being and such a giving actor, and to have that movie come out and land the way it did, because I'm really proud of that movie. I love watching the movie, and to be involved in it and to have that scene was really special for me, and it really set the tone for the other projects that I had going forward, you know.
That's awesome. And is Elijah Wood bigger in real life? because he's small, isn't he, in Lord of the Rings? Did you think, wow, he's actually quite big?
Yeah, he's taller than I expected.
So when we talk about auditions, because auditions can be one of those things that, you know, you get a lot of rejection, but then you get the opportunity to have some amazing experiences. How do you find auditioning, and what's been the most memorable audition that you've been through?
Woo. Let me think. Auditions are a special kind of beast. And 3 years ago, I think 3.5 years ago, and this is definitely in line with working with Deb Podolsky, is that I had a paradigm shift in terms of what I believed acting was. And for me, going into an audition, I never ever have this sense that I'm going into audition for a role. I really just look at everything that they give me as far as the character breakdowns, the storylines, anything that they send me, I'm going to read front, back, sideways, up and down, all the way through to understand what the conversation is. Do you know what I mean? You know when you're reading a good book, you read a good novel, or you read a snippet from a scene, and you just really enjoy the story? Imagine reading that last scene in Pulp Fiction where Bruce Willis' character goes down into the basement, and that final scene, like, that's a really heavy scene. Or pick any favorite movie or television show and just pick any scene or a book, and you just kind of like become a fly on the wall. And that's what I try to create for myself when I'm doing preparations for an audition. So when I go in to do an audition, I judge it by whether or not it's a good conversation. And I plant myself in that character, and I land myself as best I can, and just be in that conversation. And that takes me actively, like, it makes me actively take my head out of my ass and not be an actor and not be a performer. I'm just in the conversation. Like, this right now is an awesome conversation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll leave the interview thinking that I had just a great conversation, and then you can go on to have the next conversation, right? So with that, I've been able to land so many gigs that on paper, you know, I'm just, it doesn't actually, you know, being tall, muscular, you know, diversity and all that stuff, what they send to me in the breakdown doesn't actually, you know, if you were looking at what you would think that character would look like, I don't fit it. And I really have deep gratitude for my agent for taking chances on me with those roles. And I just land myself in the conversation, and it's been successful for me, you know? And for the most, I think the most impactful audition to date, I think, was my audition for The Astronauts. You know, for Dean, I can't remember his last name. He's going to kill me when I can't pronounce his name. He's the executive producer and the director of a multitude of our episodes. And so I came in, and I had a button down, I had a tie, I had my glasses on, and I had an idea for what this character Niles Taylor was going to be. And it was a scene where our kids get launched into space, and I didn't realize that. And now I'm freaking out. And I leave the audition, and I'm about to go downstairs and leave. And I go to the washroom and come back out, and an assistant said, "Oh my God, you're still here. They want you to go back up and do another scene or do another audition." And I go back up, and I get back in the room, and Dean basically paints this wonderful picture for me, because when you go into an audition room, it's pretty sterile. All you have is a chair, you have a camera, you have people behind a desk, and they say go. And what he did for me was he said, "Okay, you're a widower, you have your 2 kids, you work 50 hours a week, and you've done like probably 9 hours already with 3 hours to go. You're tired. And all of a sudden, on this big screen above your computer, you see your daughter. And this could be the last time you see her. Go." And then I was like, whoa, that lands itself for me. And I think my 3 kids, and I had good fortune, and I booked the role, and it's been an amazing experience.
That is wonderful, especially when an audition works out. I mean, I've just got a vision of a waiting room of everyone in this room waiting to audition for the same role. You know, like with their clipboards, looking at each other, staring each other out, going, "You're right. how you doing? Like this, and trying to eye each other up, thinking, you know, he's all right, he won't get the role.
That
But
sometimes
no,
happens.
does it?
Yeah, that sometimes happens. When you go into a room, sometimes people can be really chatty and they, you know, have nervous energy, or they have, you know, they distract you from what you're doing. I usually find the furthest spot in the audition room and don't talk to anybody. Or what I always want to do is, if my call time was like, say, 1 p.m., I would show up at 12:55, like right before my audition. And if they were behind, I would go back outside. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Survival techniques in this business, my friend.
So, from one father to another, I wanted to touch on this subject because I've got kids, and I've got to say, bringing up kids can be the hardest job in the world. Not only with the challenges that we face in the way of work and stress and having to deal with their tantrums, but also, you know, the outside world. And it's truly inspirational to hear the journey that your daughter True has gone through. And,
yes.
you know, from a father's point of view as well, how was that journey? If you can just explain a bit about that journey and what journey your daughter went through, which I think is incredible.
Yes. Well, you know, as you know, my oldest daughter, True, is transgender. She's 17 years old. She transitioned when she was 9 years old. And it was a journey and a half. And it was something that that I'm very grateful for, and she is really my hero, because at 9 years old, I was not that self-aware. I was not as articulate, and I don't know how I would have broached that subject with my parents to express myself as distinctly as she did. And so we did as much as we could to invest in therapy sessions and to talk to experts. We sought out a child psychologist who specializes in gender variance, and went through all of the necessary steps to find out where True was on the spectrum of gender variance, whether she's on the 20th percentile or the 90th percentile. And we discovered that she was 90 plus on the spectrum. And it's just, if I could just say that it was just one foot in front of the other, and just finding those moments of clarity. And then I can't stress enough how important it was for us as a family to have our therapist, which we still have today, to create that safe emotional space for us to really express our fears and anxieties, and to really have the tools necessary to navigate this journey and support True as best as we can. And it showed me in particular what it means to unconditionally love your child. And that's been the greatest gift for me.
That is fantastic, and that's the thing, unconditional love. I mean, my two little girls, you know what? I'm behind them 100%, whatever direction they want to go in. And Lois, my 7-year-old, she's going through the stage where boys on the playground think it's funny to call a gay or a lesbian or something like that.
Right.
And you think kids, you know, at 7 years old, are still using these terms to try and bring someone down, when, do you know what? I've taught my daughters to celebrate whatever direction, whatever love hasn't got a gender. And wow. Do you know what? I'm behind my girls 100% as long as they're happy. But I've got to say, it must have been really, really hard for you to sort of go through that as a father, seeing the potential challenges for True, and you being that sort of protective father. You know, how did you deal with the challenges that way?
Well, you know, it's, first of all, I want to say bless you for everything that you said, because I'm hoping that the population grows in terms of that sentiment and that attitude towards the LGBTQ community and just humanity at large. And, you know, to be honest with you, the journey was difficult for my ex-wife and I, in terms of reconciling with our own fears. Because at the time that True came out as transgender, there weren't a lot of role models to show her that this is actually something that is normalized. At the time, you have Ellen DeGeneres and you have all these different figures and icons and role models in the gay community, but very few that are transgender that are out and that can be examples for her to follow. And so she actually trailblazed a lot of that. And for me, I was really, I'm a very, very protective father. And what I had learned through therapy and going to these different conferences, Gender Odyssey Conference, which is a transgender conference that was going on in Seattle for many, many years, is to really acknowledge my own fears, my own biases, and my own ignorance, and to clearly identify where my weaknesses were, and then once I acknowledged those weaknesses and those fears and that anxiety, I could go forward and have the tools necessary to navigate those and be a really positive support for my child and for my other two children, and set an example. And since then, have been on so many different parent panels and advising parents that are just embarking on this journey for the first time, and knowing and being familiar with that deer in the headlights kind of look and that how they occupy space. And it really boils down to understanding your truth and understanding your child, and understanding that being a parent for me, the discovery that it is not about my goals and aspirations of my child for my child. You can be a father, mothers and fathers wish for their child what they never had. And so they sort of like project their own dreams and aspirations onto their children, what they want for their children. And more times than not, those are not the child's dreams. That's not what they want to do or desire to do, or what is their truth. And understanding that and creating an environment and a sanctuary for my children to discover that for themselves has been the ultimate gift for me, and it's made me a better father for sure.
That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And all we can do is be the best dads we can be. And as well as children learn, we learn as parents every single day.
Yes.
And yes. So before we wrap up this wonderful interview, how are you going to be celebrating the holidays? We call it Christmas over here. In Canada and America, they call it Happy Holidays or whatever you'd like to call it.
I grew up calling it Christmas, and that's what we call it, Merry Christmas. And
excellent.
How we're celebrating it, thank God that we are all together, we're all healthy. My ex-wife and I literally live 2 minutes away from each other. So on Christmas morning, we're going to be exchanging gifts. And then we just kind of like go off with, I have the kids Christmas Eve, she has the kids Christmas evening. And it's just a lot of laughs, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of Christmas movies, a lot of candy, and a lot of movies. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, there aren't a lot of places to go. There are not a lot of shows to go see. Usually we would go, to see the lights at the Van Dusen Gardens, or go to other events that are going on, like ballet or a show like that. But this year is going to be a bit more quiet than previous years. But I'm really, really grateful and thankful that we're all together.
Excellent. And talking about Christmas movies, this is a conversation I have on because obviously you were in a Christmas movie yourself.
Yes, I was.
Which I saw. Yeah. Please say you kept that suit.
Oh my gosh!
You had. Because
a lot of people ask about
That is an excellent suit. I tell you what, you should be wearing it every single day for the month of December. You know, you've got to rock that suit. But no, so traditionally, people talk about films being Christmas movies. I think Christmas movies are movies like Die Hard and Die Hard 2. What is your view? Do you think Die Hard and Die Hard 2 are Christmas movies?
Absolutely, 100%. Last week, my kids and I sat down and watched Die Hard and had a blast. That is such an awesome movie. Awesome movie. Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. Who is Alan Rickman? Is it Alan Rickman?
It is Alan Rickman. Yep, Snape. Thingy Snape from Harry Potter.
Iconic performance, and my kids love it. Yeah, it was great. That is definitely a holiday movie for sure.
Yeah, because I had William Sadler on the show a couple of weeks ago that plays Colonel Stewart in Die Hard 2, the bad guy in Die Hard 2. And I even asked him the question, and he was like, well, I don't know. And I said, well, the end song is When the Weather Outside is Frightful, you know, the song at the end. So it's got to be a Christmas movie. But no, thank you so much for this wonderful time, Garfield. Where can we see you next? What is coming out next for you? I know The Astronauts is on every Friday on the channels in the States.
Yes, Virgin River, which just released on Netflix.
Yes.
Their second season. I'm in episodes 5 and 6. That was a wonderful, wonderful show to be on. And I just wrapped on a new project coming out on Apple TV. I think it's going to be called Schmigadoon, and it stars Cecily Strong from Saturday Night Live, Keegan-Michael Key from Key and Peele, wonderful, wonderful human beings, and it's directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, executive produced by Cecily Strong and Lorne Michaels. That is going to be an amazing, amazing show. Keep your eyes peeled for that. And then in early January, I had a guest starring role in the first episode of Riverdale to start their 5th season. That was wonderful. So that episode is called Climax. Check it out. And then next year, I did a pilot last year around this time for a best-selling novel called One of Us is Lying. And that got picked up for 8 episodes by the new NBC streaming service Peacock. So I can't wait to hear what's going to happen with those 8 episodes. They're writing them right now. I'm not sure what's going to happen as far as when they're going to take us to camera, but I can't wait for that one to start. That's going to be a great show.
Garfield, you need time off at Christmas. You are way too busy. You've got probably a couple of years worth of stuff there. That is awesome. And Apple TV do amazing shows, I've got to say. I think they do awesome shows. And how can people follow you on Instagram and Twitter and social media?
Yes, on Instagram. Check me out at Garfield A. Wilson, and on Twitter at Garfield Wilson. Please follow me. Please send me a hello and comment. I would love to hear from you.
Garfield, you've been a great guest. This has been absolutely great fun. Have a wonderful Christmas and a new year.
You too, my friend. Thank you.
You don't get Boxing Day, I presume. So it's just one day that you celebrate at Christmas, or do you get a Boxing Day?
Oh, we do get a Boxing Day.
Do you?
Day. Yes. Yes, we do.
Oh,
that
must be a Canadian thing then, because the States, they don't have Boxing Day, do they? They have Christmas Day and then straight back to work the next day.
It's crazy. I don't know how you do that. I would never do
that. It's all right. Canadians are close to, English anyway because of the Queen, and so that's probably why. Yeah. Right, Garfield, look after yourself, my friend.